Welcome to another edition of the Prop Drop. This week we're talking about UFC Vancouver, and this is a segment where I briefly go over every single matchup once again, but more from a props perspective, whether that's for the winner who I'm expecting to get their hand raised, or trying to give you guys a possible hedge opportunity if you find yourself looking the other direction. So let's get right into this. First matchup up, we got Croden going up against Tainara Lisboa. I'm expecting the physicality of Croden to be a big determining factor in this matchup, and I think she can often get Lisboa to the ground, grind her out, and eventually find a finish. You can get the inside the distance prop at plus 260 for Croden. I think she ends up posturing up and landing big shots to get the finish over Lisboa, and you can get Croden by knockout at plus 470. And then on the flip side, if Lisboa is successful in this fight, I think it looks like her stopping the takedowns of Croden and utilizing her Muay Thai experience to bust up Croden on the feet and win this fight on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 190. Next up, we got Azamat Bekoev going up against Yusri Belgaroui. Bekoev looking at a third straight win to his UFC record now. He's knocked out both of his first two opponents, but I think that's going to be harder to do against the kickboxing style of Belgaroui. I think we'll see Bekoev utilize a mixture of his improved striking game, but his classic and faithful wrestling game, where he should be able to take Belgaroui to the ground and really just grind out that top position and win this fight on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 270. For Belgaroui, who's getting the Alex Pereira rub to get into the UFC, his best chance of winning this fight is catching Bekoev on the feet with his kickboxing, and you can get Belgaroui to win by knockout at plus 430. Next up, we got Stephanie Luciano going up against Ravina Oliveira. I don't think this is a great matchup for the returning Oliveira, who's looking to come back from a 2-year-long layoff and a knee injury. But I think that Luciano is the better striker. I think she has more tools. I think she's the better grappler as well if she chooses to take the fight there. And I think she ends up grinding this fight out, winning it on the scorecards, which you can get at minus 145. For Oliveira, if she can keep the fight standing and really get into her Muay Thai groove, she might be able to have some success there. But I think the only way for her to win that matchup is just slightly edging out Luciano on the scorecards, which you can get Oliveira by decision at plus 480. Next up, we got Drew Dober taking on Kyle Prepolec. Very tough fight to bet in terms of the money line. I wouldn't hate on anybody looking to take the Prepolec side of things here, but I think Dober puts together a good enough body of work with his striking and his grappling to end up winning this fight on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 230. I know he's finished pretty much a handful of his last wins, but Prepolec is a guy that's never been knocked out, and I don't think Dober has a good enough submission game to really expose Prepolec in that side of things. For Prepolec, obviously Dober, very shaky chin at this stage of his career. He can crack, and you can get Prepolec to win by knockout at plus 750, which is not a bad hedge opportunity. But again, if you're parlaying Dober at minus 500, you got to be rethinking a few things regardless. All right, next up, we got Danny Barlow going up against Jourdain Santos. I do expect violence in this matchup from start to finish, and I expect that finish to come under 2.5 rounds, which you can currently get at minus 150. But I think it's going to be Barlow who bounces back from his first pro loss by handing Jourdain Santos a knockout, and you can get Barlow to win by knockout at plus 130. Santos is just a little bit too hittable, and seeing how often he was getting tagged up by Ozzy Diaz, I expect Barlow to be quicker, faster, and more powerful to the target, which eventually comes through with that knockout. On the flip side for Santos, if there is some durability issues on the Barlow side of things, I don't think Santos has the power to really expose it. But again, long shot, just in case Santos does manage to get his hand raised, I think for him to do so, it would have to come by knockout, which you can get at plus 700. Next up, we got Hyun Sung Park going up against Bruno Silva. Similar to Barlow, Park is looking to bounce back after his first pro loss, which we can give him a little bit of leeway for. It was a super short notice matchup against Tatsuro Taira, and Park ended up getting submitted in the second round. But I expect him to utilize his power striking and athleticism here to really keep Silva on the defensive, maybe even counter some shots. But I think it'll eventually be Park's power that comes through and earns him this victory here, and you can get him to win by that method at plus 400. For Silva, I think him winning probably is a combination of him putting together a good enough body of work, good takedowns, good calf kick, and winning it on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 480. Or, there have been instances where Park has been cracked and put into some bad spots. So maybe Silva can come through with a knockout as well, which you can get at plus 550. Next up, we got Charles Jourdain coming in against Davy Grant. Fun fight here. Grant still showcasing close to being a 40-year-old that he can go out there and compete with the best of them. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, with his one loss coming by split decision to the previously undefeated Daniel Marcos. But I think that this is a bad style matchup for Grant. Jourdain is a little bit too flashy, a little bit too fast, and very well rounded now, especially with his improved submission game. And I think that's going to cause Grant a lot of problems, which should eventually lead to Jourdain winning this fight by submission, which you can get at plus 700. Grant has never been knocked out, but he has been finished by submission in 4 of his 7 losses, and I think Jourdain is aggressive enough with it now to fully take advantage of that. Also, if Jourdain can't get the finish, I think he will land more eye-catching shots and optically look like the superior fighter, and you can get him to win by decision at plus 170. For Grant, he is a big power puncher, but I'd be surprised if he's the one that puts Jourdain down here. So I think if Grant wins, it's with landing big shots and winning this on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 270. Next up, we got Matt Frevola going up against Kyle Nelson. Pretty much a pick'em fight here, and a lot of it has to do with the fragility of Frevola in recent fights, but he does have the level of grappling that could cause Nelson a lot of trouble here. I think Frevola could either grind this out and win it on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 430, or he gets Nelson into a compromising position and pulls off a submission, which he can cash at plus 800, which I think is a very overlooked prop in this matchup. Nelson, on the other hand, I think he's going to have to expose the weak chin of Frevola once again if he hopes to get his hand raised, and you can get Nelson to win by knockout at plus 230. All right, next up, we got a banger of a matchup here between Cody Gibson and Aoriqileng. I believe that Gibson is the more well-rounded fighter, and I think he should be able to muzzle most of the aggressive striking nature of Aoriqileng's game. I think that means we'll see Gibson start landing takedowns, getting some good control time, and then winning this fight on the scorecards, which you can get at plus 155. For the Aoriqileng side of things, if he can stuff the takedowns and if he can keep Gibson on his back foot, maybe he can come through with a knockout, which you can cash at plus 420. Or if he just continuously hurts Gibson and sees the scorecards, you can get him to win by decision at plus 340. Next up, we got a high-stakes women's flyweight matchup now between recent title challenger Manon Fiorot and Jasudavicius, who's looking to earn a title shot of her own. Now, I think that Fiorot is a bad stylistic matchup for Jasudavicius. We know Jasudavicius, she's trying to improve that striking game, but she's clearly not comfortable in that realm, so she has to get to her takedowns. But she's going to struggle to really catch and corral Fiorot in a position where she can get off on some meaningful takedown attempts. She might be able to land 1 or 2, but I think for the most part she's going to struggle and end up eating too many big shots from Fiorot here, which ends up leading to a classic Fiorot decision, which you can cash at minus 135. For Jasudavicius, not much of a finisher against this level of competition. I'd be surprised if she can get Fiorot into a spot where she can either TKO her or submit her, but you can get Jasudavicius to win by decision at plus 310. All right, next up, fun bantamweight fight here between Marlon Chito Vera and the streaking Ayman Zahabi. I think Vera has the chops to really halt this 6-fight winning streak for the Canadian, and I think a lot of it has to do with his aggressiveness, his pressure, and his striking, and I think that will lead to him battering Zahabi over 15 minutes to win this fight by decision, which you can get at plus 250. If he does manage to hurt Zahabi enough and really jump on some TKO opportunities, you can cash Vera by knockout at plus 500. On the flip side for Zahabi, technical striker, good counter striker. Again, Vera very durable as well, so I'd be surprised if Zahabi can finish him. So if Zahabi wins, it probably comes by decision, which you can get at plus 110. All right, that brings us to our co-main event now between Kevin Holland and Mike Malott. This should be a fun matchup for as long as it lasts, but I'm expecting it to be Holland who ends up landing those big shots to either knock out Malott or get that club and sub opportunity. I think Holland to win inside the distance at plus 185 is not a bad spot. If you can get the under 2.5, which I saw roughly around minus 160, that's not a bad spot either. I think Holland could also snipe Malott and get him out of there that way, and you can get Holland to win by knockout at plus 410. On the flip side for Malott, his inside the distance line currently reads plus 155, and him to win by knockout is plus 460, as I believe that's probably the best way for him to win this fight, especially if you saw how many times Holland was hurt by Daniel Rodriguez last time around, a guy that I don't think has as much knockout power as a guy like Mike Malott. All right, that brings us to the main event now, where I'm really scratching my head in terms of a proper prop that we can jump on here. Again, overall, I just feel very sketchy about this matchup. I think De Ridder wins, but I can't really get behind his chalky money line, and his props have me scratching my head too. You got De Ridder to win by decision at plus 350. I think Allen's BJJ is good enough to stay away from too much danger, but he will be fighting off his back for most of this matchup, or fighting off his back foot with the aggressive nature that we've come to know from De Ridder's style. And then De Ridder to win by submission if he does catch Allen slacking, or if Allen starts to slow down due to the short notice nature of this matchup, you can get De Ridder to win by submission at plus 230. And for the Allen side of things, if he can fend off the takedowns of De Ridder, if he can land more damage, and he ends up winning this fight on the scorecards, you can get that at plus 650. Or if Allen takes advantage of De Ridder's questionable gas tank at times, I think he's kind of answered the naysayers that he does have a decent enough gas tank. But if Allen does start to expose him on the feet, you can get Allen to win by knockout at plus 550. All right. Let's get to the top 3 prop spots and long shot for this UFC Vancouver card. Just a quick recap for UFC Rio. Bia Mesquita round 1 sub plus 270. It happens in round 2. Rip that ticket off. Mario Pinto via knockout plus 300. Cash that ticket. Very easy cash there. I hoped and I wish that I went even more on that Pinto line there, because I felt really good about him to do exactly what he did to Dinas that night. And then Joao Alvarez round 1 KO plus 320. Probably should have cashed with that eye punch, but I'm not going to, be too mad about it or call it controversial or anything. But we do end up profiting ever so slightly on the top 3 prop spots. The long shot ends up going the reverse, right? We had Thomas Peterson, round 3 plus 2,200. Petrino showing that his gas tank, even though for the first 30 seconds to 1 minute of each round, it's good enough to still come through with knockout power, and that's what he ended up coming through with, crashing our long shot there. All right, so for UFC Vancouver, let's get into the top 3 prop spots and then long shot. First one up, Melissa Croden inside the distance plus 260. Then we're going to go Danny Barlow by knockout plus 130. Then we're going to go Hyun-Sung Park via knockout plus 400. And then the long shot, we're going to go Charles Jourdain by submission at plus 700. There you guys go. That is a wrap on the content for this week. It's been a weird week, but I'm glad to get it out. Again, we do have 3 regional events going down just before the UFC kicks off. We got PFL Africa, KSW, and Octagon. I will only have written breakdowns for those cards, so make sure you guys check out the MMA LOT and Patreon page. And then I will be back either Sunday or Monday for the UFC 320. Is it 320? I think it's 320. 321. UFC 321 breakdowns. Big card there. I believe Tom Aspinall at Cyril Gane. And then we got Verna Janjidoba taking on Mackenzie Dern for the vacant strawweight title. So a fun card from what I remember. Can't wait to break it down for you guys. Good luck on all your action this weekend, and I'll see you guys again Sunday or Monday. Peace.